Good morning, students. In the last video, we have done about cotton textile industries. Today, we are going to do jute textiles. Now, as again we know, after the cotton, it is the jute textiles which is the oldest textile industry of India. India is the largest producer of raw jute and jute goods, and it stands at second place as an exporter after Bangladesh. That is, Bangladesh is at the first position in exporting raw jute and ours is the second position. Most of the mills of our country are located in West Bengal, mainly along the banks of the Hooghly River in a narrow belt. West Bengal, where there is river Hooghly, most of the raw jute areas we find here. And some small information is given. The first jute mill was set up near Kolkata in 1855 at Risra in West Bengal. After the partition in 1947, the jute mills, they remained in our country, but 3/4 of the jute producing areas, that is the raw jute producing areas, they went into Bangladesh. It was a part of Pakistan. That is why I use the term East Pakistan. So raw jute producing areas went into the Bangladesh and jute mills remained in our country. That is why today we are at the second position and first position is of Bangladesh. What are the reasons for the jute mills to be located in West Bengal? Factors responsible for their location. Now, what do we call this as the factors responsible for location? We call them as localization factors, because in board exam the term used is what are the localization factors of jute textile mills in West Bengal. So the localization factors are proximity of the jute producing areas. Now proximity means which are near to that, which are near to those areas. That is your proximity of jute producing areas. Other than that, we have inexpensive water transport, because we have this Hooghly river over there which transports this material to the different parts. Then we have support of a good network of railways. Again, it is well connected with the good network of the railways. So we have railway connectivity, that is the good transport connectivity over there. Other than that, we have abundant water, because this river is there over there. So we have abundant water for processing of raw jute. A lot of amount of water is required, which is available here. Other than that, there is also a lot of labor which is required. So we have cheap labor from West Bengal and the neighboring states like Bihar, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh. We have cheap labor from here to work in these jute mills. Kolkata, which is the capital of West Bengal, it has a good large urban center that provides a lot of facilities for these jute textile mills. For example, it provides banking, insurance, port facilities for the export of the jute goods to the other countries. So we see that why they are located, or what are the localization factors of jute mills in the West Bengal. This industry also suffers with lots of challenges. Challenges means, I told you children, the problems which are faced by this industry. So what are the problems faced by this industry? This industry faces stiff competition, a strong competition in the international market from these synthetic substitutes. What are synthetic substitutes? They are the artificial fibers. Earlier also I told you, even the cotton textiles, they face a lot of stiff competition with synthetic substitutes, because synthetic substitutes are strong as well as they are cheap, which are made in the factories and the industries. So the original fibers, they suffer because of synthetic substitutes. Then these jute textile mills of our country, they have strong competitors at the international market from Bangladesh, Brazil, Philippines, Egypt, Thailand. We have strong competition from these countries. If we put these challenges aside, we see that once upon a time in our country, there was no demand for the jute textiles. Why? Because jute textiles or jute fibers are very costly. We have seen in the agriculture chapter that jute is also known as golden fiber because of its cost. So people generally don't buy these goods because they are costly. So we buy generally the synthetic substitutes. But today we see that in our country or in many countries, there is now demand, or we can say in our country especially, there is an internal demand in the jute goods, especially, or the jute products made up of the jute. They increased due to the government policy of mandatory use of jute packaging, especially there is a ban on use of plastic. We all know that. Now, because of the ban on use of plastic, the increase in use of jute packaging has gone up. So now there is a compulsory or a mandatory use of jute packaging for any kind of goods which we buy in the market. So to increase this demand, or to keep a pace with the demand, now the demand is increasing, so the production also has to be increased. So the products need to be diversified. The main markets for our country, or our main export, we export to the countries like USA, Canada, Ghana, Saudi Arabia, UK, Australia. The growing global concern. So as I told you, it's not that only India is concerned about the pollution of the environment. The whole world is today is concerned about the environmental pollution. So every country now want to control this environment pollution. So today we are recommended to use the environment friendly goods, which are also called as biodegradable goods. Now, what are biodegradable goods? Those which are capable of being decomposed. So such goods, that is why there is a ban on plastic, because plastic is not decomposed. So it increases the pollution in the environment. That is why today we are recommended to use more of the jute goods. So that has once again opened the opportunity for the jute products. So that completes your jute textile industry. So quickly I am repeating what we have done, or what are the questions which can be asked in the jute textiles. First one, where are the jute textile industries mostly located in our country? Answer is your West Bengal near the Hooghly Basin. Second question, what are the localization factors of the jute textile industries, which we have done just now. The localization factors are the proximity of the jute producing areas, that is a raw jute producing areas near in the Hooghly Basin. We have inexpensive water transportation, we have a good network of railways, roadways and waterways, and we also have cheap water for processing raw jute. Then we have cheap labor from West Bengal and the neighboring states. We also have Kolkata, which is a large urban center which provides with the facilities like banking, etc. So these are the localization factors which can be asked. Then the next question which is asked in the exam is challenges to the jute textile industry. That is the problems which are faced by the jute textile industries. That is stiff competition with the international market, with the other countries. We have a stiff competition with the synthetic substitutes which are more cheaper than the original the fibers like jute. Then but today we have a increased demand. The next question is that why do you see an increased demand in the jute textile industry at present? It is because now the government has made a policy and a mandatory use of jute packaging goods, because it has banned the use of plastic because of the global concern, because of the environmental pollution. Today we are taking care of the environment friendly goods. We need those goods, environment friendly goods. We need the goods like biodegradable materials. That has once again opened the opportunity for the jute products. That's about your jute textile industry, children. We have the next part, that is another agro based industries, which is sugar industry. So let's first of all see the place in the world. India stands second as the world producer of sugar, but occupies the first place in the production of good or kandasari, which is a form of a good. So in sugar, we are in the second position in the world, and in good and kandasari, we are occupying the first place in the world. And you know that what is the raw material for sugar industry or good and kandasari? It is sugar cane. The raw material used in the sugar industry is bulky. Bulky means heavy. And in haulage, transportation, that is, haulage means transportation. So it is a bulky material, and haulage is commercial transportation. Its sucrose content reduces. If we transport sugarcane to a longer distances, what do we see? We see that it will get dried up quickly. So the sucrose content, the content of that sweetness, that sweet component in the sugarcane, that gets reduced. Rather, I can say that the sugarcane completely gets dried up if you transport it to a longer distances. So we need the sugar industries which are especially located near to the sugarcane producing areas. So where are the sugar industries mainly located in our country? They are mainly located in the states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, etc. 60% of the mills, sugar mills, are located in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. So you can say that maximum number of the industries are located in UP and Bihar. Now this industry is seasonal in nature. So it is ideally suited to the cooperative sector. Now what do you mean by cooperative sector, children? Where the farmers together can set up a sugar mill. Most of the sugar mills, especially in southern India, you will see that they are set up mainly by the cooperative sectors. Cooperative sectors are cooperative. The term itself tells it is a cooperative sector, which you have done in economics, where a group of people will together pool up the money. They will save the money, they will add the money, and with that money, they buy the raw materials and they help the farmers. Now, when I talk about the sugar mills in the cooperative sector, it is many farmers together who produce the sugar cane. They again pull up the money, they set up their own sugar mill, which is near to the sugar cane growing areas. So that is what is we talk about the cooperative sectors, because it works well. As I told you, if the sugarcane has to be transported to a longer distance, it will get dried up. So that is why most of the farmers will set up the sugar mill just near to the sugarcane producing area. So it is done with the cooperative sector. Now, in recent years, as we have seen, most of the 60% of the mills are located in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. But today, there is a change in this trend. Now, what is the change in this trend? Today, we see that most of the sugar mills are shifting towards the southern and the western states. That is, they are shifting towards Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka states. Now, why? The question, this is a very important question, children. The question is asked that why sugar mills today are shifting from North India to South and Western India? Give reasons. So you have to give reasons that why these sugar mills or sugar industries are now, more of them are located in the western and the southern states like Maharashtra, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. The reasons are, I am listing down here, children, because the cane produced here has a higher sucrose content. I am repeating, the cane producing here has higher sucrose content. Now again I told you what is the meaning of sucrose. Sucrose means the sweet component in that sugar cane. In southern India, the sugarcane which is grown there, it contains more amount of sucrose content. So definitely you can produce more amount of sugar and good. That is why most of these industries are today shifting towards the southern India. That's one reason, higher sucrose content. Second reason, there is much cooler climate also ensures a larger crushing season in southern and the western India. The climate, if you see in southern and western India, it's a moderate climate. It's not very cold, not very hot like the Delhi or in the northern part of India. So they get a longer season of cooler climate, which is much required for the crushing season of the sugarcane. That's the second point. Third point, the cooperatives are more successful in southern India. In southern India, the farmers generally are not very rich like in northern India. If you see in northern India, especially Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, you will see that the farmers here are very rich. So they don't do any cooperative work. They don't do any combined work. They don't want to cooperate with the other farmers to do any kind of work in the fields, or they don't want to set up any mills cooperatively. But in southern India or western India, most of the farmers are either the poor farmers, or you can say the medium land holding farmers, small to medium land holding farmers. So they are ready to cooperate with one another, and they are ready to produce the sugarcane cooperatively, as well as they are ready to set up a sugar mill cooperatively. So that is why it is successful in these states. So most of the mills today are shifting from northern India towards the western and southern India. Children, this question comes for 3 marks in board exam. Not for 1 mark, not for 5 marks. It comes for 3 marks. So you have 3 points here. For again, I am repeating the question, that give the reason for the shift of sugar mills from northern India to western and southern India. Answer is number 1, high sucrose content in the sugarcane, which gives through which you can produce more amount of sugar and good, because it contains more amount of the sugar concentration or sweet component is more in that. Second reason, longer crushing season, because in western and southern India you have moderate climate. So you have a much cooler climate over there all throughout the year. Then we have cooperatives are successful in these states because here the farmers have more medium to small land holdings. So they are not very rich like northern Indian farmers. So the southern and western Indian farmers are ready to cooperate and set up these sugar mills. So that is the answer over there. And the last question in the sugar textile industry is the challenges which are faced by this industry. Now, what are the challenges which are faced by this industry? Number 1, it is a seasonal nature of industry. Seasonal industry it is, because of which many people suddenly become unemployed and it cannot be grown in the whole throughout the year. Second one, we have old and inefficient methods of production. In our country, the production methods of the sugar and good, they are very old and inefficient. They use old types of machines, that means. Then we have delays in transport. Sometimes the industries are not very near to the raw material areas, and if the transport gets delays, the reaching cane to the factories is delayed. So definitely the sugar cane gets dried up, or the sucrose content gets dried up. And the last one is need to maximize the use of beggars. Now, what do you mean by the term beggars? Children, beggars means, you might have seen when the sugar cane is crushed, you will see the waste of it, the waste of that content you will see, which is called which looks like dry pulp. So that is a residue or the left out of the sugar cane. So the people, or if the people or the labor is skilled, they can use even the beggars also. So they can put the use of beggars to its maximum use. That is what is given there, the need to maximize the use of beggars. So that's your the last question of the sugar industry. So that completes all the agro-based industries, children. We come to the next part of the chapter, that is mineral-based industries. Now, what are the mineral-based industries means? Industries that use minerals and metals as raw material are called as mineral-based industries. Can you name some of the industries that fall under this category? Yes, they are iron and steel industry. We have aluminium smelting industry, chemical industry. So these are the industries which are based on the metals as the raw materials. Let us come to the first and the most important mineral based industry, that is iron and steel industry. The first question, there are many questions, children, it's a very big part, just like the cotton textile industries was the biggest part in the agro based industries. Iron and steel industries has lots of questions. So iron and steel industry, first of all, is the basic industry. Now children, what do you mean by the term basic industry? Basic industry we have done in the classification part. Basic industry or a key industry means an industry upon which several other industries are dependent. An industry upon which several other industries are dependent. Iron and steel industry is also an industry upon which several other industries are dependent. Some of them are heavy industries, medium industries, light industries, depend on it for their machinery. For example, we have aircraft industry, which is I can say like defense industry. We have medical equipment industry, we have construction industry, we have automobile industry. So there are so many industries which are dependent upon the iron and steel industry for its raw materials. That is why it is called as a basic industry or a key industry. So that is the first question. Why iron and steel industry is called as basic industry or key industry? Then we have steel, which is produced from this iron and steel industry. Steel is needed to manufacture a variety of goods. What are they? Variety of engineering goods, construction material, defense goods, medical equipment, telephonic goods, scientific equipment, variety of consumer goods. So, the question can be, what are the uses of steel? What are the uses of steel? So, steel is needed to manufacture variety of engineering goods, construction material, defense goods, medical equipment, telephonic goods, scientific equipment, and a large variety of consumer goods. that these are the uses of the steel. We are coming to the next, the most important question of this chapter, that is these lines which I am going to underline for you so you can mark them, and that is the very important question of this chapter. That is production, and the lines comes as it is, children. Production and consumption of steel is often regarded as the index of a country's development. Give reasons or justify the statement. Anyway, it can come. The lines will come in inverted commas and you will be asked to give reasons or justify the statement. First of all, understand the meaning of the question. You know, if we produce more steel, in the same way, consumption of steel, using of more steel, these two things, if they are more, that says that our country's development is more. So, the lines I am repeating now: production, producing; consumption, consuming of steel. These two are regarded as that they are the measure of a country's development. If a country is producing and consuming more steel, we say that that country is more developed than the other countries. Why is it so, children? It is because steel production is the backbone of any country's economy, since it is the basic unit for the development of the nation. Second, almost every industry depends on iron and steel for its manufacturing and production. Third, in today's era of globalization, consumption of goods is increasing. Thus, it can be concluded that growth in production of steel is regarded as index of country's development. In easy words, iron and steel is used in every industry. It is the backbone of every industry. For example, again we go to the earlier paragraph. You can write answer from here also. That is, iron and steel industry is the basic industry for many other industries. For example, defense industry, etc. And then you can even write that steel is manufactured for all these uses. Variety of engineering goods, construction of materials, etc. So that all will give you the answer for this question. Then we have iron and steel industry is a heavy industry. Why iron and steel industry? Next question I am talking about, children. Why iron and steel industry is called as a heavy industry? Now you know, I have told you the meaning of heavy industry in the beginning of the chapter. Heavy industry means industry which uses the raw material which are heavy. Its finished products are also heavy. So the inputs are heavy, output is also heavy. So the answer, why iron and steel industry is called as heavy industry? Because all the raw materials as well as finished goods which are used in this industry are heavy and bulky, which requires again a heavy transportation cost. When you are transporting heavy goods, heavy raw materials from the from the mining to the industry, definitely they require a high amount of transportation. So high cost of transportation is involved in these heavy industries. So when we talk about this heavy industry, we have now what is the raw material which is used in this industry? Raw material which is used in this industry includes, they include iron ore, it includes coking coal, it includes limestone. Coking coal, iron ore, limestone, all these are heavy, children. All of them are heavy. Now what is coking coal? Others, you know that limestone and iron ore. Coking coal is a grade of coal that can be used to produce good quality coke. Generally, it is used in the metallurgical, which is also called as a metallurgical coal. It is used to melt iron actually, that coking coal. So now in which proportionate it is used? It is used in proportion of 4 is to 2 is to 1. This also you have to learn for 1 mark, children. In which proportion iron ore, coking coal and limestone are used in the iron and steel industry? They are used in proportion of 4 is to 2 is to 1. This you have to learn for your 1 marker, children. For 1 marker, you will learn this proportionate which is given here. So, why iron and steel industry is called a heavy industry? It is because it uses the raw material which is heavy, iron ore, coking coal and limestone, which are all the 3 are heavy. Other than these, some quantities of manganese is also used when it is required to harden the steel. So, the next question in the next part of the video, I will continue, children. Where should the steel plants be ideally located? That we will continue in the next part of the video. That's all, children, for today. So whatever questions I have discussed in the chapter, please do them in your register. That's all, children. Have a good day.